Well, thank you very much, Tony. I mean, I'll just echo what everyone said this evening. It's certainly a unique company. I started as an assistant at 16 years old, like I'm sure a lot of people in this room, not really knowing what lay ahead. And I think the more I work for this company, I've been there 36 years now, and it's the only job actually I've ever had, which is kind of interesting. So I'm not very good at interviews, I have to say. But I think it's special, it's very unique. I remember, I just wanted to tell you a little story about when I first met Vidal, and I think this is something I've tried to carry all the way through my career. You know, I hold this title now, following on from Vidal, Roger, obviously Christopher, Tim, and now myself, which I'm kind of still have to pinch myself to kind of think about sometimes. But I remember when I was an assistant, and I'd probably been at the company about 3 or 4 months, and Vidal was on a tour to London, and he'd asked to meet all of the London assistants, so we dutifully assembled after work at the Academy in London, all sat in this room, and Vidal had obviously been doing some press stuff, because there was a stage set up at the end of the room, and as he walked in, this kind of, you know, this suit, I'm from Essex, you know, just outside of London. I've never seen anybody like Vidal, let alone spoken to him. And he came into the room, and the guy who was with him, his PR, said, "Do you want to use the stage, Vidal?" And he just said, "No, I'll come and sit down there." And he sat down in amongst all of our, there's about 40 of the assistants all sat there. He sat literally right next to us, turned around, smiled at all of us, and said, now I get to talk to the important people. And it was having someone that, you know, that famous treat us all as if we were, and then he basically told us his life story for 2 hours. I could have sat there all night. And that was my introduction to Vidal. That was when I really realised that I was not just working for a company that was unique. I was working for a man who was unique, a visionary. Genius is a word that's used, you know, quite liberally these days. But he very definitely was a genius and a visionary, and that's why we were at the company, or are at the company. That's why we still believe in that company, that vision, that uniqueness. And I think we're right. I think it's as relevant now as it was, you know, it's time specific in the 60s, but I think it's become timeless. And I think it's absolutely so compelling that we're all still adhered to this vision that he had and still perpetuating it. The other evening, just to give you one more story, then I'll go. We had a creative presentation from a young man called Leo, who's just become a creative director. So in a sense, we've got, with respect, some of the, you know, the original creative directors in the room, but we also have the newest creative director in the room as well, which is kind of incredible. Leo. So it's kind of, so you're right, you know, Christopher's right, it is unfinished, it's never going to be finished, because as long as there are hairdressers who believe in what Vidal started 60 years ago this year, you know, it's the 60th anniversary this year, which is kind of incredible thing. And yeah, I mean, listen, I'm in awe of being here amongst some legendary names that I've heard about through my career, and I can't wait to ask people how they cut the veil, how they cut the 5 point. No one's ever still told me how to do that. Can we get along with Tony to demonstrate? But yeah, I mean, listen, it's amazing to be here, and thank you. It's fantastic.